So, Drizoth, what are we
Yes.
doing today?
So, I don't know how many people know, but I came from Magic. So, there's like a pretty common thing that's fun to do when you've got two people from different card games, where you basically make them rate cards from a card game they don't play. It's pretty amusing. There's been quite a few different content creators who've done it. And it seemed like a good time. It came up in conversation where we made you rate some cards in your Discord. And so I was like, hey, let's just pick a bunch of cards and have you rate them. We ready to start?
I'm so ready to start.
Okay. This is Ordithopter. It doesn't have a whole lot going on. Flying is elusive. It's a 0 mana, 0/2 elusive.
Okay. So this is an artifact creature, which is just like, how is that different from a normal creature?
So artifact is a card type that you're artifact is a card type that you're allowed to interact with. So you can kind of think of it as a landmark, where it's like kind of difficult to interact with, but this is also a creature. So basically, your landmark interaction and your creature interaction both works with this.
And like everything that's not an artifact is like a spell, right? Even the creatures?
Everything is a spell of the lens. So creatures are spells.
Wait, artifacts are spells too?
Artifacts are spells.
Okay.
You'll run into enchantments. I don't know if I have any enchantments in here. Enchantments are basically artifacts with different flavor.
Okay. Cool.
But in terms of rules, it's the same.
So it's just a 0 mana elusive 0/2, right?
Yep. That's all it is.
Okay. And 0/2, I mean that's nothing special, right? But it is 0
mana.
Yeah,
that's not incredible stats. Generally you would expect at least 1/1 in like 1 point in each stat per mana cost. So for 5 mana you would expect at least a 5/5 if it's not doing anything else.
Okay. Sure. So this card, I mean, there's not a whole lot to go off of here. I would assume that like it looks not great, but maybe there's like some strategy where you just like stack a ton of buffs on it because it's like an artifact flying creature that's free. But it really doesn't look that great.
Yeah, so I actually intentionally picked this as like one of the starter ones to go off of. There's pretty much no answer that you could give for this one to be bad. This card has been good at some points in time. It basically has some specific synergy points that you identified. It's really good with buffs. It's an artifact, which we care about. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the better equipments in the game, Cranial Plating. Okay. And it's an equipment for 2 mana that equips for 1. So equipments are a little different in Magic. They have a cast to put into play, and then there's a mana to equip them to stuff.
Okay, so you have to like
only costs 2 mana to put it into play, and then it costs 1 mana to put on stuff.
Okay.
And the equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So if you imagine like 5 or 6 artifacts, you boost your Ordithopter to a 6-power elusive threat. That's pretty good for 0 mana. There's also Mox Opal, which is just like a land that costs 0 mana, so you can ramp with this card, but you need artifacts to turn it on. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
Ornithopter has hit a couple of like artifact synergy decks, and it doesn't really see play outside of that. Okay. Your bog standard MTG deck won't play it, but some artifact decks will. So
sounds good. So it's nothing too special, but it has hit some decks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Okay, Pyroclasm. So it's a 2 mana sorcery, so it's just a spell. It's not instant, so it's slow speed, right?
Yeah, this is just 2 mana avalanche.
Okay, yeah, deal 2 damage to each creature. I mean, for 2 mana, like this card has to be okay, but it is like in red. Does red actually have like control stuff, or is it all aggro?
Red has control stuff. Pretty much every color has been controlling and aggro at various points in times.
Mm-hmm. Fine, 2 mana deal 2 to like all creatures, like sounds incredible. That sounds incredible. I mean, surely this sees play in decks, right?
This card is pretty much dated. It used to see occasional play. It never was like incredible, but you did used to see Pyroglass, and you pretty much just never see it anymore. It's just a card that used to see some play and doesn't anymore. So
okay. So it was good once upon a time. Now is there just like better removal, or does it just not hit stuff?
No, it's just kind of like creatures have gotten a little bit larger, so it doesn't sweep as effectively. This like probably is never killing a 2-drop without additional work.
Okay.
And there are other sweepers that are generally more effective. Removal has gotten a little bit better in general, spot removal mostly. So it's just kind of gotten this is one of the oldest cards in MTG. I think this card originally got printed in like 1996, and it was good then, and it was good for like 5-8 years afterwards. But
that makes sense.
It's just slowly not become great. So
lack of permanent damage. Oh, true, because everything has regen, right?
Everything has regen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No,
I translated this one into LoR over on the side.
Okay, Bitter Blossom. So it's a 2-mana tribal enchantment.
This is a landmark. It just sits off on the side and just does stuff.
Okay, so at the beginning of each upkeep, you lose 1 life. And you put a 1/1 Black Fairy Rogue, so it's just a flying. It's just a flying 1/1. I mean, for 2 mana, every single turn, like your life doesn't really matter that much, right? You get pinged once, it's fine. And that just like shits out 1/1s. Beginning of your upkeep. Okay. I mean, this card seems pretty solid, right? You just get infinite flying units so that you could either like stack on or just attack with or even chump with. Like, this card seems pretty good.
I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. So this card has definitely gotten worse as time has gone on, but yeah, this card does a great job of stabilizing you. It's been very good at points and times. It's been meta defining in certain metas. And I mean, the life loss is kind of annoying, but against most decks, a 1/1 chump blocker is going to save you 1 life or more each turn.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. For sure.
Worst case scenario, you're at least breaking even.
Yeah.
And against control, this card is obviously incredible. This is kind of like Magic's like Foyer, where like it plays defense, it plays offense. It's just this ongoing battle source.
Is this something that gets played like mainly in control decks, or is there like a aggressively slanted deck that's using all of these 1/1s and like
generally not aggressive? You'll see it in aggressive decks out of the sideboard against control.
Okay.
But you pretty much never see this just in an aggressive deck, just planning on playing it. That'd be kind of like one deck that I would say is aggressive, which would be black-white tokens, which is definitely not a real deck anymore.
Okay.
But
dope. It seems pretty reasonable.
It's a reasonable enough card.
Okay. Field of the Dead. So it's a land.
Yes.
Field of the Dead enters the battlefield tapped, so you can't use it on the turn that it comes down.
Correct. Yeah, it taps for... That's a colorless mana.
Okay.
It taps for colorless, but not any color.
Okay, cool. Then whenever Field of the Dead or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, create a 2/2 black zombie token creature. Or creature token. Jesus Christ. Okay, so you have to have 7 lands with different names on board at the same time. And if you do, then when you play a land, you also get a 2/2 zombie creature. And you can't tap this on the turn that it comes down.
Correct.
This card seems terrible. This card seems terrible. How do you get 7 lands down? Okay, how often do you really go to like turn 8 in this game?
So this card is wildly broken. This card is banned in multiple formats.
Wait, why is that?
So there's 2 ways that this card gets used. One of them makes a lot more sense. This is a control win condition that you play on turn 1 and then just forget about. All you have to do is stabilize the board, and eventually your lands just shits out 2/2s, and your opponent dies to them.
Well, you still have to like draw lands and then play lands, and then those lands like, do they even do anything late? I
mean, they suck, but like now your lands are at least 2/2s, and they like block with, and they win you the game eventually. The other one might make more sense to you. So you play this card in decks that are like Feel the Rush, where they're ramping and doing bullshit, and also putting out 2/2s, because they're Catalyst of Aeons. Well, one of the things is they'll be like Catalyst of Aeons that don't have to find basic lands, so you start stacking Field of the Dead. And then their late game Catalyst of Aeons gains 3 life and puts 4 2/2s into play. And then they cast Feel the Rush, and you have to answer that, and their 4 2/2s.
How do you run 7 different lands? Like 7 lands with 7 different names?
That's not at all hard, honestly. That's very easy.
It felt like there was so much shit you had to do, so many hoops you had to jump through. I'm surprised this is good. That's funny. That's funny.
Most of the time that you're playing a Field of the Dead deck, on turn 7, without trying, you will have 7 different lands.
Okay.
The hardest part of having Field of the Dead active is drawing Field of the Dead.
How many cards do you draw at the beginning of the game? 7?
7.
Okay, so by turn 7, you've seen 14 plus cards. If half of those are lands, assumedly you're drawing a ton too. Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I believe you though.
This card is incredible, but
Yeah, no, I know you get extra lands when you ramp. Yeah. Okay. Glimpse of Nature. So it's 1 mana, green. Whenever you play a creature spell this turn, draw a card. Oh, that sounds broken. You just keep drawing cards. That has to be broken, right? That's be the most broken
it's
card.
very broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of combo decks that are basically trying to play like upwards of 10 to 15 creatures in one turn, fueled off of Glimpse of Nature. Where you play Glimpse of Nature, there's ways of like getting a mana back for each creature you play, and then you start just like drawing your deck, and your opponent dies.
This seems wild. Like I cannot imagine this doesn't have a once per turn. Like that's fucking crazy. This doesn't have a once per turn clause. Damn.
That probably would have been smart, but so to be fair, they probably couldn't have done like once per turn because this only lasts 1 turn.
It's a source. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Well, it still seems absurdly broken.
It's very broken.
Okay. I see. Okay. Arcane Encyclopedia. So 3 mana, and then after you play it down, you have to pay 3 more mana and tap it. Is that right?
Correct. So each turn cycle, you can spend 3 mana and draw a card.
Okay. You pay 3 mana to play it down. Then each turn, if you want to, you could play 3 mana and draw a card. This seems absurdly slow. How long does the average game in like Magic go?
It depends on what deck you're playing. I mean, control decks can last pretty long time. Aggro decks probably are killing on like 5 or 6.
Okay.
If they're like winning without disruption or whatever.
Sure.
Obviously, like you can slow them down and die on 8 or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a meta where this hits, but God, this seems absurdly slow because you can't play it before. I don't know. Maybe ramp into it, but like you play it on like turn 3, and then like after that, you're spending like a massive amount of your mana just to draw a card. There have to be easier ways to draw a card. There's no way. No way this card's good.
This card is truly bad. This is the first card I put on here that is just not good.
Hey. Yeah, it's just way too fucking slow, right?
Yeah, there's lower powered formats, and maybe you'd like see a copy in like a lower powered format, but just kind of like. Also, this might be a useful disclaimer for chat. I tried to ignore standard cards, which is the lowest power format of Magic, just because like it's hard to tell if a card is good because it was good in a specific standard format, or if that standard format was just kind of weak. I tried to be like, let's just ignore standard and talk about like.
So standard formats, that's just like stuff in the last 2 years or something, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's
so
the
there could be like
power.
super weak. It'd be like how we have like super weak metas or something.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to just avoid that whole discussion, so I'm pretty much only talking about like eternal formats of some variety.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, that seems kind of pretty bad.
Yeah. Maybe standard deck played it once, but.
Okay, Voice of Resurgence. So this is 1 green, 1 white. 1 green, 1 white. This is a creature. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, or when Voice of Resurgence dies, create a green and white elemental token with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures you control. Okay. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn. Okay, so that would be like they tried to respond to something you were doing, huh?
So... Magic turns aren't like this fluid thing. So like on my turn, so basically when I have the attack token, if you play a spell at any point, even if you're not like responding to a spell of mine, I would get a token.
Okay. How often are you casting spells on your opponent's turn? Is that like a super common occurrence?
It depends on the deck. So control decks would definitely do it a lot because
For
like
sure.
any counter spell or whatever is probably cast on their turn. But like an aggro deck has no real need to cast spells on you.
So we talked about the stats being you want like the same stats equal to the mana. So like a 2 mana 2/2 is like average. And like its effect seems broken as hell if your opponent is casting spells, right? So it seems like a card that would be very broken. But I mean, I don't know, maybe your opponent just like never casts spells on your turn and like just never enables it, but it's only 2 mana, so it's pretty low commitment, right? This card seems pretty solid.
This card would probably fall in the category of like a soft hate card.
Okay.
It's like not so the front side where it's like a 2 mana 2/2 is not phenomenal. That's what you expect to get. it does have essentially a last breath of giving you an elemental, so it has some like value baked into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if your opponent is playing a deck that really needs to be casting spells on your turn, this card is very good against them. It's very annoying.
It's like a
they
must
pretty
kill,
much,
right? Like you have to get rid of this card.
They have to kill it immediately. You can kind of think of it as like Stony Suppressor in LoR, where like it's very annoying for the decks that it hits, but it doesn't hit every deck. It's not just like a phenomenal card in a vacuum.
Okay. But MTG has like a sideboard, right? So you could like bring this card with you and be like, if you run into someone who wants to run a lot of spells, then you can run
generally them. To be fair, this deck is good enough on base rate that people would just main deck it, but it is definitely like a soft hate card for specific decks.
Okay, dope. Primeval Titan. So this is 6 mana. 6 mana, 6/6 with trample. Trample's overwhelm, right?
Yep.
Whenever Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 land cards, then put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So green ramps, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so this guy's not actually coming out on turn 6. And then
generally not, no.
So when he comes out, he ramps you more. He has overwhelm. He's a 6/6. Well, I'm sorry, when he enters the battlefield or attacks.
Yes.
Okay, so he just like, and he searches from your library. I mean, this card has to be good, right? Surely this card is really good.
This is the best ramp payoff ever printed. This is why Field of the Dead is so busted, because this card goes and tutors 2 Field of the Deads and makes 4 zombies. And then the next time it attacks, it makes 8 zombies, and you're just fucked. So generally Primeval Titan decks would play this card on turn 4. So they ramp on 2, they ramp on 3, and then they play Primeval Titan. And if you're playing a control deck, if this card hits the field, you lose, because your opponent will find 2 Field of the Deads and you are dead lost.
Yeah, this card seems dumb as shit. This is a big guy. He does a lot. Damn.
Yeah.
You can only imagine. You know, when cards like that exist, I could see more why Field of the Dead might be a pretty good. Okay, Death Shadow. So this is 1 mana. Death Shadow gets -X/-X, where X is your life total. And sorry, is that -X? Oh, so
Correct.
It loses power and toughness from this 13,
so at the
13
start,
based on your health.
At the start of the game, this card is a -7/-7 and dies instantly.
Okay. So you have to be below 13 health to even like cast this. But I would assume that there are cards that like you can probably manipulate your life total like pretty easily, right? So I'd assume it's 1 mana. It's 1 mana. You can only play it after a certain point. Surely this card's like at least playable, right? Like the payoff seems pretty nuts. And yeah, I assume that you can pay health to do stuff. So it's not like your opponent can just like, brick this card forever. Surely this card's good. Surely.
Yeah, so I have a context slide on this one. You're exactly correct. There's a lot of ways to pay life in Magic that are, if not like for benefit, at least not a cost. So Thoughtseize lets you disrupt their hand. There's Bloodstained Mire, which is like a land that lets you pay life. And Street Wraith Cycling is just like discard this card for its cost and then draw a card. So you just get to change it to a new card.
Okay.
So Street Wraith is just pay 2 life, draw a card. And it's pretty easy to get Death Shadows into play on like turn 2, certainly by turn 3 in decks that play it. And they're not huge on turn 2. They're like 4/4s, but
they're not
this
huge.
card This card isn't like grant me -X/-X. So frequently against
throughout the game.
Yeah, frequently as aggro against Death Shadow, it's very difficult to get them dead in time without just dying to them playing 10/10s and killing you.
See, when I was looking at this card, I'm like, oh yeah, you probably played on like turn 5, turn 6. No, you played on turn 2, and it just gets bigger. Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, especially when they have so many cards that like do good things, pay life for it. You're probably pretty happy with it.
Yes, I would say you, other than a slight overestimation on how long it would take you to get this card online.
I thought maybe you were playing a couple of them on turn 5, and your opponent's sad about it, but no. Just jam that shit. Lotus Petal. Okay, so this is 0 mana. Sacrifice Lotus Petal. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Play this ability as a mana source.
So this is basically like the Blue Sentinel card, where it like ramps you for 1 turn temporarily.
This is like
you
coin,
can technically play it. Yeah, coin would be a better example. But.
Yeah, this is like the Hearthstone coin. So you just play it, and then it ramps you for 1 turn.
Yep.
Of any color. That's cool. It's not colorless. It's of any color. I mean, this card at least has to see play, right? Like, surely there's something that you can ramp into early that's just like super fucking stupid. I mean, surely you play at least some of this card. It's probably not like absurdly broken, but it's probably a good card.
You're almost correct. This card is absurdly broken. So,
okay.
This is like definitely a combo card through and through, but we're not like doing nonsense like Hearthstone does, where they're like coining with like gadgets and auctioneer, like trying to extract our like value from casting our spell. You're just playing this and playing stupid bullshit way ahead of schedule, and your opponent just cannot beat it.
Yeah, I figured you could cheat out like some sort of like a value engine or something, but like
no, we're killing them.
You're just killing them. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how many do you run your deck? Do you actually run like 4? Do you
decks that play Lotus Petal play 4 copies?
Okay, so sometimes you're ramping like way ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're going -1 on value. I mean, surely that's bad enough, right?
Well, I can point to some examples later on in here of like the nonsense that occurs.
Okay. So Lotus Petal apparently good. Thassa's Oracle. This was a merfolk. Jesus, that's a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yeah, this is a lot of text.
Okay, so it's a 2 mana 1/3.
Yeah.
Oh, this is coral creatures. Surely. When Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion of blue. Is that how much mana you have of blue?
I should probably just translate this, because this text is like way annoying, even if you know Magic.
Rest on the bottom of your library in random order. X is greater than or equal to a number of. Okay, yeah. What's
so
devotion?
My translation of this? So it's a 2 mana 1/3. When it comes into play, you look at the top X number of cards of your deck, and the number of cards that you look at is the number of blue pips in permanents you play. So Thassa's Oracle is blue.
Oh, okay.
It would contribute 2.
Okay, so it's stuff you have in play. Okay.
Yeah. You pick one of those cards and you put it on top of your deck. And if you look at your entire deck, you win the game. So if you've got like 40 blue pips in play and you look at a 40 card deck, you win the game.
Okay, so it's a 2 mana 1/3 that like at minimum lets you look at the top couple cards of your deck and then like put one on top and then put the rest on bottom. Which, I mean, that on its own, like this card on its own, looking at 2 cards and like picking which one, like seems fine. That seems like a playable card. The fact that it sometimes wins you the game and sometimes looks at, you know, like 10 cards, like surely this card's broken as fuck, right? Surely.
So you're kind of correct. It is broken as fuck. You don't quite get why.
Okay,
so
wait, why?
Nobody plays this card
yourself?
to look at 2 cards. Nobody plays this card to look at 10 cards.
Mill yourself?
You mill yourself, and then this card wins the game.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the, like, look at some cards and put it on top of your deck. You're playing this card to have an empty library and win the game off of.
Can you interact with this?
Yeah, so if you kill it, and they don't have devotion, so like if you kill it and they don't have devotion enough to look at their entire deck, the win condition doesn't go off. They play around that by having no cards in their deck, and then 0 is greater than or equal to 0. And you just
Wow, that seems really interactive.
Yeah, so we don't have it on here. Oh, I guess I do have it for a context slide. So Demonic Consultation has a crap ton of text. Basically, this card is 1 black. You can just mill your library if you want. It has other text in other times, but like you can play Thassa's Oracle, respond to the trigger, so it like goes on the stack, and just Demonic Consult your deck out of here. And then Doomsday is very good at decking yourself.
That seems really fucking stupid, I'm gonna be honest with you.
It is a polarizing card, and if someone could clip that so I could send it to a friend of mine on Twitter, I'd really appreciate it.
Why is that?
There's a friend of mine who always tweets a Twitch clip at me of me getting top deck out of the finals,
Oh.
and he really hates Thassa's Oracle, and he would appreciate that clip.
Okay. Yeah, no, that card seems pretty silly. Indomitable Creativity. Okay, so 3 fire and then X.
Yeah.
The text is different. What's up with them?
The normal format where I was getting these photos from had a really small resolution, so I had to go pick a different format, which looks weird, but...
Destroy X target artifacts and/or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their deck until an artifact or creature is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put their exiled cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle their libraries.
Would you like a translation? Because this one is a lot of text.
Target. Okay, so you destroy however many things you want based on the amount of mana you spend.
Yep.
For each permanent, so for each thing that's gonna stay out there, it's destroyed this way. You could destroy your own things to like look through your deck to find stuff that then gets played out, or you could destroy your opponent's things. I assume you're destroying your things more often than not. I assume that this is like a stupid combo card. Like there's probably like specific cards that you want to find in your deck, but you have to sacrifice permanents for it. It seems so dangerous to like point this at your opponent's stuff. There's definitely like potential there, right? There's definitely potential in this card. Players put the exiled cards onto the battlefield, then shuffle their libraries. Do all the cards that get revealed, like they just go back in the library, right? Other than the one that gets exiled?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I mean, so it's just the first one that comes out on top. First artifact or creature. I mean, aren't there like cheaper ways to like ruinate your opponent or something? Like, I don't know. I feel like this card's like probably not that good. But I don't know. There's like, it could do stupid things. Is that a valid answer?
That's the correct answer. You basically got sidetracked. You're correct. Nobody ever points this at their opponent's stuff. We are doing dumb combos. So,
okay.
So the top two, the most recent Pro Tour, which you kind of think of like big seasonals type thing, was actually won by a deck playing Indomitable Creativity and trying to find Xenagos, God of Revels, and Worldspine. So Worldspine Worm has a ton of text. Who gives a shit? It is a 15/15 with Overwhelm. Xenagos, God of Revels, also has a ton of text. Doesn't matter. When you put both of them into play, Xenagos doubles Worldspine Worm's stats, so it becomes a 30/30 and gives it haste. So you just, here's my 30/30 Overwhelm, ship it at you. It's Big Cat. It's literally Big Cat.
How much mana can you possibly spend Indomitable for? Like, are you...
You're just doing 2. All you need to find is Xenagos and Worldspine Worm. You play no other cards that Indomitable hits, so it just looks through your entire deck until it finds them.
Oh! Reveals cards from the... I'm not gonna lie. I read this wrong. To an artifact or creature card. I thought that they milled the amount of cards, or they looked, deep how much mana you spent. But no, it just looks no matter what.
Until it finds a hit, yeah. Yeah, so this was the thing that I was going to talk about of like Lotus Petal. So these bottom 2 cards are the cards that people are like cheating out as a single card. It's not just a game-ending combo. So people are not like cheating out, I don't know, a Trundle. They're cheating out Grizzlebrand, which is a 7/7 flying lifelink that you can pay 7 life to draw 7 cards. And this card is just not beatable.
I think I've seen Grizzlebrand. Grizzlebrand is, is my... that's my dream. I fucking 7/7 flying lifesteal draw cards. What more could you want?
Yeah, it's certainly a time.
Okay. So this is like a good card?
This card is pretty good, yeah. Okay. It's not like amazing and busted, but it's definitely good.
Okay. Cool. I 100% didn't realize that any amount you spent, you're just milling until you find a card. That's pretty crazy. Okay.
So this is Shadow Assassin. It's literally Shadow Assassin.
A 3 mana flying, draw a card. 1 summoned. Yeah, literally Shadow Assassin. I mean, 2/1 flying. How much worse are like the flying stats? Probably like significantly, right?
Flying stats are definitely worse in Magic. So.
Isn't Delver a 1 mana 3/2 flying?
Sometimes. You do have to flip it. I considered putting Delver on here, but I assume you've seen Delver. So
I've heard the name Delver enough that like I'm vaguely familiar with the card. I mean, this card has to be terrible, right?
It's
really
definitely
bad.
terrible. Yeah, it's worse in Magic than it is in LoR. So
I assume that Magic just like does stupider things, right? Like it feels like they have better access to removal, better access to like drawing cards, better access to like doing stupid things. So like when a normal card comes up, I just assume that it's not very good.
That's probably fair. I do think Magic probably is just stronger in general.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people cut Shadow Assassin in LR, so I can only imagine. Okay. Omnath, Locus of Creation. Okay, so it's 4 mana, and you have to have one of each of those colors. I mean, aren't you already like fucking yourself if you run all those different lands?
4 colors is not trivial. So some of the other ones that we've seen that are like 2 colors or whatever, like it's trivial to have 2 colors.
Yeah.
4 colors is not trivial.
Okay. So when Omnath enters the battlefield, draw a card. Dope. He cycles. He's Shadow Assassin.
Yeah.
All right. Landfall. When a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 4 life. This is the first time this ability is resolved this turn. You gain 4 life if it's the first time it says resolve this turn. Okay. If it's the second time, you add a shitload of mana. If it's the third time, it deals 4 damage to each opponent and each planeswalker you don't control. Okay, so he's sort of like a he's like a payoff to ramp. If you're gonna play like multiple lands in a turn, then he like does silly things. I mean, this card has to be like terrible, right? So you have to have all these lands out there already, all these different lands, one of each color, and then you like play them out, and then after that you have to like ramp more cards on board. Like refilling the mana, like the second effect seems really good. The third effect seems, whatever. But yeah, no, I feel like this card's probably just like way too many hoops to jump through.
This card is very good.
Okay.
The main thing is there are cards. I'm actually going to go back because I had them in a different slide for context. Here's Death Shadow. Here's Death Shadow. Here's Death Shadow. So there's this card, and it's actually a cycle of cards called Bloodstained Mire that are lands that go and find another land out of your deck.
Sure.
So they like help you fix your mana. This is 2 landfall triggers.
Okay.
Which conveniently gets you probably the best ability, which is add 4 mana.
Yeah.
So it's really easy for these decks to play Omnath and get the second trigger, given that they play enough fetch lands. And fetch lands are some of the best lands in Magic, so nobody really complains about playing fetch land.
Okay, so fetch land means that you can... Were we sacking it earlier? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so you play it, sacrifice it, go find a land out of your deck, and put it into play.
Okay, so you can like find pretty easily like all 4 colors of lands, even though that would normally be hard.
So 4 colors is not trivial. This isn't just like a cakewalk to cast, but it's not too hard to cast them on curve. And the main problem with playing multiple colors is you kind of end up with this clunky mana base that isn't good at casting spells on turn, and you can get run over by aggro.
Yeah. Conveniently,
Omnath is a 4 mana 4/4, which is a goddamn brick wall, and gains you 4 life every turn. So he just kind of like stonewalls aggro against control. This is like, you can kind of think of him as like an aloof travelers of like, he comes down, gets you value, definitely has to be killed because he's going to start just like killing them. And like draws you a card. So
I figured that by the point you actually get this guy down, like how many cards do you have left? Are you really going to be like being able to cycle like multiple lands on a turn? But apparently yes. Apparently the answer is yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm very wrong on that one. Okay, Archboundravager. This is an artifact creature, 2 mana, 0/0. Sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Archboundravager. Modular. This enters a battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, you may put its +1/+1 counters on target artifact creatures. Whew. Okay. So, if you play 2 of this guy, you can sack 1 to the other. And then
you end up with 3 counters because it moves 1 and then gains 1. So
it moves 1, gains 1, and it starts with 1.
Yeah.
Okay. When it dies, and then when this guy dies, you could just buff something else anyway. Is there like an archetype of that wants you to be like sacking your own artifacts, Or is this guy like pretty standalone?
There's like definitely cards that want you to sacrifice your own artifacts, but it's not like a full-blown archetype or anything.
So I like instantly think of like acolytes, right? Like this feels like an acolyte card in LoR. But
okay.
Put a +1/+1 counter, sack an archetype. I can't imagine that you're getting enough of a payoff just from sacking your own artifacts, unless you can like shit out 30 artifacts. Which, I mean, you know, if that's the case, surely you could do stronger things than just get a to just sack them. I don't know. This doesn't seem very good. This doesn't seem very good. But you know, maybe the fact that like when it dies, it's giving you value no matter what by just putting a counter on something is like worth it. But this seems not good.
So this, I actually was really happy that I thought to put this in here because this is probably the best aggressive creature ever printed.
Oh, really?
So this hits essentially every format. The main thing is you play this guy. If it dies, it does give you value.
Yeah.
Most of these artifact decks have a bunch of random shitty-ass artifacts, like Ordithopter that we saw earlier, that are both good to sacrifice to Ravager and good to put the counters on from Ravager. And then the other thing that makes this guy good is imagine playing a removal deck into an aggro deck with Arcbound. If you try and kill anything, they sack it to Ravager. If you try and kill Ravager, they move the counter somewhere else.
Wait, so the sack and artifact effect, is that something you could play like in response to things?
Yes. So
it's like a fast speed,
and it just eats it. Yeah.
Wait. You can just play that response. I assume this was like a fucking slow speed. You have to.
No.
Is every ability like that's on a creature like essentially quick speed or fast speed?
Yeah, it specifically specifies if it's not fast speed.
Jeez, okay, I mean, I could see him playing it in response to like removal and stuff, and that could be pretty cool. That could be pretty cool. That's funny.
Yeah. This card is like, it's never. I guess it's only banned in like one format that was pretty weak, but or like the format was weak. It was a fairly strong standard, but it's seen play down all the way to the most powerful format that Magic lets people play. So it's a very good card.
I am surprised. I completely missed that.
It definitely does not read like a super powerful card.
Yeah.
Doesn't draw cards, doesn't cheat on mana. It's just like a kind of good aggressive card.
Okay. He just eats the other artifacts. Okay. Damn. 2 mana sorcery. Destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way can't be regenerated. Okay, so it's vengeance.
Overload. Yeah, literally just ignore can't be regenerated. It's not even relevant text in Magic, much less translated.
Okay, so overload. You may cast this for its overload cost. If you do, change its text by replacing all instances of target with each. Oh, so I'm sorry. This is a vengeance that if you really want to, you can pay 4 mana and just ruination.
Correct. Yeah. It's 2 mana vengeance or 4 mana ruination.
I mean, surely this card's like staple, right? Surely this card's like really fucking strong.
This card is mediocre.
Wait, why? It seems so good. Is it because you have to be in black-white or?
So a black-white control deck certainly would play Dam if it's in a format where Dam is legal. Like it's good in control decks.
For sure.
The thing is like neither half is actually special in Magic. So the 2 mana vengeance, the fact that this is a sorcery, which is basically like the difference between fast and slow.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a sorcery makes this lackluster single target removal. And the overload effect is actually a lackluster sweeper in Magic. 4 mana ruination is just not very good.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, for sure. 4 mana ruin, just not good, actually. My bad.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm sorry. Why isn't 4 mana ruin good? What's up with that?
Basically, like, removal is really good, and threats are obscene at this point. Threats will, like, kill you very, very quickly. Most standalone threats will kill you in, like, 2 to 3 turns by themselves. Go wide decks have ways of beating sweepers, and 4 mana is oftentimes too slow. Like, your opponent will have converted too much advantage off going wide by turn 4 for your ruin to be good enough.
But you could... Okay. So can you play sorceries on your opponent's turn?
No.
Okay. Okay, well, that's fair. You can only play, like,
cannot wait for them to
faster.
develop and then ruin. No, yeah.
Okay. Damn. Yeah, it is it is surprising that a card that, just seems so efficient just like isn't worth it. Just doesn't cut
Yeah.
it. That's pretty funny.
I mean, if you're in the like type of deck that wants to play this card, you certainly would. But like, it's a fun card to show to like LoR players because they're like, this card is cracked.
Surely.
It's like okay, like
That's funny.
It's honestly more amusing than telling you that it's like bad, where it's just like, yeah, it's whatever. Like
Hypnotic Sprite. Oh, is that?
This is an annoying one, but so if adventures are like, you can play this like little adventure text as a spell, and then the unit stays in your hand, basically. So you can play this as a 2-mana, 2/1 elusive, and you can also, while it's in your hand, play Mesmeric Glare. If you play Mesmeric Glare, you can then only play Hypnotic Sprite. So.
Okay. So it's like, once per game while in hand, you can just like play it as a spell, and then like it's still gonna stick around in your hand as a unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't like get infinite Mesmeric Glares, but you can play one Mesmeric Glare, and then you can play your Hypnotic Sprite still afterwards.
Okay.
And you can also just play your Hypnotic Sprite. You lose access to Mesmeric Glare at that point.
Sure. So counter target spell with converted mana cost of 3 or less. So it's a Nopify.
Yeah, it's a 3-mana Nopify.
It's a 3-mana Nopify that you can then play down for a unit. How good is counter magic in Magic? Like, are there a lot of like Nopifies and denies, or?
There are a crap ton of assorted categories of counter spells. It's not like LoR where we have 4 in total or something. There is like an unlimited different options.
So the fact that it's a Nopify isn't special. If it is special, it's because you can Nopify and then play it as a unit. Okay.
Yeah, being a Nopify is not anything to write home about.
Okay. I mean, this seems still like a solid card, right? Like, you get to hold on to it. It gets to be your counterspell, that then, like, eventually becomes a unit. Like, the flexibility alone, right, seems pretty good. The value on it seems pretty good. But maybe it's just, like, not doing enough, right? Like, if you told me that this card just, like, doesn't do enough and it's actually just terrible, I'd believe you. But this reads like a flexible enough card that surely it's good. Surely.
This card is definitely unplayable. This card sucks ass. The real problem is, like, this counterspell just isn't good. Like, 3-mana counter target spell with confirmed mana cost 3 or less is just actually a bad card. Okay. And the other half is, like, nothing phenomenal. It's not horrendous, but, like, it's not great.
Sure.
And so, like, this value proposition of, like, play your bad cards, you get this other mediocre card, is just not something people are interested in.
That's fair. I got bait. I felt the value in me, I saw the value. I wanted to think it was good.
I should show you Bone Crusher Giant. That one's an adventure card that is actually good, and it would be right up your alley.
Oh, yeah. Underground Sea, Island Swamp. So you could either add water or I don't know what you...
Skull. Yeah, black or white. Black or blue.
White.
But...
Okay. So black or blue. I mean, it's a land that can be either one. Does it count as both? Like, are there things that say, you have to have X number of swamps or whatever? Does it count as a
things
swamp?
care about card types. The island and swamp matters compared to just having the ability. So, like, if you notice the abilities in parentheses, this isn't actually text on the card. This is just how the rules work. Islands can tap for blue and swamps can tap for black. So it's just saying that, helpfully, remember that this can tap for mana.
Nice. But this does count as both, being an island and
it is both. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, this card seems incredible.
This card is...
Why would you ever run, like, a normal land over this? Like, wouldn't this, like, always be superior than an island or a swamp?
Basic lands, there's, like, the actual basic lands. They are given kind of a privileged position in Magic, and it is exceptionally hard to interact with basic lands.
Okay.
It is much easier to interact with non-basic lands. Still hard, but the fact that this is not basic is a cost compared to, like, islands and swamps.
Why is that? Are there just, like, things that can... What can hit a land that can't hit a basic land?
There are cards that specifically say, like, destroy target non-basic land.
Interesting. Okay.
The idea is, like, they want to make sure that if you are willing to play, like, a single color mana base and all you do is play basic lands, that your lands, like, kind of can't be touched. It's
Interesting.
difficult to interact with them.
This card's like still probably really good, right?
This card is probably one of the 15 best cards in the game.
Okay.
It is outrageously strong, and I actually picked it because in the formats that this one is legal, blue and black are probably the two best colors. You can make an argument for blue and red, but I wanted to be able to say, like, this is actually the best of these dual lands. This cycle of cards is called dual lands. And there's like one for every 2 color pairing. So there's like blue and green, there's green and white, there's every 2 color pairing has one.
It's so simple that like unless there's a major drawback, like it just seems incredible. It seems incredible.
It is incredible. Anyways, so something that I like didn't have you in the original pass because it's a fun follow-up is here we have nerfed Underground Sea. It's the same card but nerfed.
Okay, so as Watergrave enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. Okay, so either you pay 2 life and then you can play it that turn, or you just don't and enter tapped. This seems still incredible.
You're correct. This is also one of the strongest lands in the game. It's definitely worse than Underground Sea, but this is also incredible. They nerfed it, still good.
Yeah, it's still so flexible. And like, if you really need it, you could just pay 2 life. Who gives a fuck about 2 life?
Yeah, fun fact, this is a card that enables Death Shadow. So
True. That's funny.
Yeah. Death Shadow, that metal is like commenting in chat, and I see it and it's interesting. There are Death Shadow decks in formats where you are allowed to play Underground Sea and you choose to play Watery Grave.
That's funny.
Which is a good time.
Yeah, no, that card seems very good. Okay, Solitude is a 5 mana 3/2. That's terrible. Yes. Flash. What does Flash mean?
It's instant speed. It's a creature that is like fast/burst speed. Okay. A little weird to translate spell speeds, but you can like play this in combat and block with it, just to be clear.
Sure. So he has Lifesteal. When Solitude enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 other target creature. That creature's controller gains life equal to its power. Okay, so you can like use it on your own unit to heal, or you can use it on your opponent's unit as removal. Yes.
Evoke. So I will have to explain Evoke because it doesn't tell you. Evoke says you can play this card for this other cost. Okay. If you do, the unit like dies immediately. It has like summon kill me.
Okay.
So you don't get the 3/2, but you get the ETB effect.
I'm sorry. Okay, so what you're telling me is this is a 5 mana card that you can play, at speed. It has Lifesteal. You can use it as removal. You can use it to heal yourself. So you could use it in response to removal. And you also have the option to just play it completely for free, and then it's just not a unit. It's just, discard 1 card, exile your opponent's creature. This card seems incredible. Where's the downside? This card seems really fucking good.
I mean, I thought I'd bait you, but this card is incredible. It can be 0 mana removal if you need that. It does come up that this is 5 mana. This is good late game stuff because it does just 2 for 1 your opponent because you play it, it exiles their best creature, and you get a 3/2 lifelinker.
Yeah.
There's also various ways to kind of like cheat with this card. So there's cards that like when you put it into play before it kills itself, you like Spirit's Journey it.
Okay.
Where it like kills it and then puts it back into play. And then it sticks around and also triggers the like remove something again. So
this card seems fucking insane.
This card is very good, yeah.
Okay. Think about it against Death Shadow. That's funny. Yeah. Ruinous Ultimatum. Okay, that's a lot of mana.
It is 7. A lot of mana. 7, yeah.
Destroy all non-land permanents your opponent controls.
So if it's not a mana crystal, it's gone.
Okay, but it's 7 mana, and you told me earlier that 4 mana Ruination wasn't good, but it's one-sided. But there's also 3 different colors that you have to have. I mean, this card has to be like unplayably bad, right? Surely.
This one is unplayably bad. People play it in some casual formats because it's exciting there, but in terms of competitive play, this card has never seen the light of day.
I mean, yeah, it seems fucking terrible.
You are definitely catching on. If something costs like 7 mana and it doesn't do some bullshit when you play it, it's probably not good.
Yeah, doesn't Grizzlebrand cost like 7 mana? Like, come on.
It costs 8. Come
Oh,
on.
okay, 8. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, that card seems miserably bad. Think twice. Okay, so it's 2 mana instant. Draw a card. Flashback for 3 mana. You can cast this from your graveyard and then exile it. On 2 mana cycle already seems like not great, to be honest with you. And then 3 mana cycle again. Like, this is like a Preservarium that you paid 5 mana for. Which just seems absolutely fucking terrible. Surely you could do better things for your 5 mana. This card seems terrible.
This card is decent. It's not bad. It's probably a little worse than Damn for like the other kind of like mediocre card that we've talked about. The thing that like really makes this card better in Magic than people would think is in Magic there is like an end of turn phase. So when your opponent wants to pass the turn, they have to completely forfeit any ability to take actions. They basically say like, we're moving to my end of turn phase. You can do whatever you want with your unspent mana.
Okay.
And I can't really do anything. So like, they can't develop something afterwards. They can't rally. They have to just pass the turn. You can do whatever.
Okay.
And
So
in
you
those
can
situations,
you can use like floating mana in order to like just cycle this.
And so like Think Twice is pretty useful in those situations as a control deck where like this card just sits in your hand and whenever your opponent is like, okay, I'm done, and you're like, okay, I still have like 2 mana floating around, I'll think twice, and you just slowly build up card advantage without any real risk.
Okay.
It's not like a phenomenal card. I wouldn't come around and tell you that this card is like the best card Magic has ever seen, but it's definitely better than it appears.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, being able to like, I don't know, use like unspent mana like that is pretty cool, but still seems not great.
I mean, it's definitely seen better days.
Change the title of the stream. We're at the later part. We're in the then part. Maybe I should change it to the then part only. Okay. Sheldrid The Apocalypse. So this is 4 mana, 4/5. That seems really good. Death touch means that like if you touch something, it dies, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, not people, but like if a unit takes damage from Sheldrid, it dies.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's like a 10/10. It still dies.
When you draw a card, you gain 2 life. When an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. I mean, okay, so it's a 4 mana 4/5, which is big, or at least it's like above average stats, right?
Slightly above average. So
you don't want to attack into it because it's always going to kill something. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. This card might just be like absurdly slow, but this card seems pretty good. Like it's just a value engine that just like chills on board. But I don't know. Maybe you don't care about your life that much. This card seems good. It seems like, you know, just like you just fucking throw this down and your opponent can never get past it.
Yeah, that's about right. It's definitely not like your typical good Magic card, but this card is just like a brick wall. It gains you a bunch of life, it kills them reasonably quickly, and it's a fucking 4/5. Like, how do you get past this thing? If you're trying to attack and block, this card is a problem.
Yeah, attacking works similar to LoR, right? Where you declare attacks and your opponent declares blocks, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's quite good.
It seems like it just stalls shit out. It seems very annoying. It seems like a very annoying card. Okay. Luris the Dream Den. Okay, so you could play this. Either of those can be like either white or black, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. So it is a 3 mana 3/2 companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has converted mana cost 2 or less.
You can read permanent as non-spell. So you're allowed to play like 3 and 4 mana spells, but you can't play 3 and 4 mana creatures.
Okay. This card is your chosen companion. You may cast it once from outside the game. Wait, okay. So this is like a...
So this card is like in your sideboard, and you can play it from outside of the game for its mana cost.
As long as you meet the restriction.
Correct, yeah.
Do you have to like prove that you? How does that work? Do you like show your entire deck to your opponent? Be like, I promise.
You
I
don't
don't
have to prove it, but all of the companions are designed. There's more than one of them. All of them are designed so that you can easily verify that the deck meets the restrictions. So like, you can just look at what your opponent plays, and if they ever play something that doesn't meet this criteria, you know they broke the rules.
Okay. So it's a 3-mana 3/2 lifesteal that you can play from your extra deck at any point, or from your sideboard. During each of your turns, you may cast one permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So you could just like, and it doesn't exile that card. You could just like keep casting shit.
Correct. Yeah. It's a permanent, so it'd have to die in some way. But yes.
Oh, okay. One permanent spell. Oh, but creatures are spells too, right?
Creatures are spells. So.
Okay, so it can like either continue to res like the units because every single unit in your deck costs 2 or less.
Yes.
Interesting. Can you run like multiple copies of this in your sideboard?
No, you can only play one. Well, you could play more, but they wouldn't be companions. But that's.
So if he like dies, can I like get another one or no?
No. I mean, normal ways you could like play a way to like get him back from your graveyard.
Sure. But I can't just summon another one from my extra deck.
No.
Okay. This card seems really good. Like the fact that you could just play it like anytime, like you always hit it every game. Especially in like a 60 card deck. Assumedly like it's a massive cost to only be able to run like 2 mana or less permanents. But like this card still seems really good.
So this card is without a doubt, unquestionably, the most broken card Magic has ever seen. This card absolutely destroyed the format.
Wait, why is that?
Basically, this card was way too consistent, good in combo, control, mid-range, and aggro. It was always available, always ensured your late game, and the cost just wasn't that big. The fact that like you have to play like only permanents that cost 2 or less. Someone basically said Luris's companion text is an upside because it forces you to build your deck correctly. Which is like an incredible statement.
That's funny.
This card is so busted that we have a follow-up where I tell you that they changed the rules.
Wait, so they errated it?
Yeah, well, sort of. Companion no longer lets you cast it out of your sideboard. You can now spend 3 mana to put it in your hand, to then pay 3 mana to put it into play. So this went from 3 mana to 6 mana. How good is that card?
I mean, assuming the first one's broken, for 6 mana, it's probably still good, right? It's probably still good, because especially if you have like floating mana ever. I mean, if it's as broken as it was, I mean, surely this card's still good.
This card is the second most broken card Magic has ever seen.
Yeah.
So, after they made that rules change, they ended up having to ban Luris in literally every format. There is a format that lets you play like the most broken cards as one-ofs, and they had to ban Luris in that. They couldn't even restrict it. They had to ban it.
Companion seems like a broken mechanic.
I believe 4 of them have gotten banned in multiple formats, and most of the other ones are comically unplayable. So, like, it's one of the most widely hated mechanics they've ever done, and
it feels like you're bringing Commander to, like, non-Commander.
Correct. I believe that was literally the design thing, and it went over very badly.
I think it's a cool idea. I think it's a really cool idea, but, I mean, obviously it seems pretty good.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was a time, so.
That's funny. Lava Axe. So it's 5 mana, deal 5.
Yep.
I think I literally had this card as a kid. I swear I've seen this card before. This card has to be terrible, right? 5 mana, deal 5. Surely there's better things you can do with your mana. This card has to be like miserably bad.
This card is miserably bad, and we have the palette cleanser of the actual card I want to ask you about.
So Decimate is bad.
The good version of this one.
Lava Spike, 1 mana, deal 3. That card's really good, right? Well, I don't know. It's 1 mana Fervor without, having to sack something. Surely this card's good.
This card is playable. It's not phenomenal. There is a version of this card that can also hit units, where it's just 1 mana, get excited, except you don't have to discard.
That
one's very good.
It sounds better.
Lava Spike definitely sees play. You have to be playing like an aggressive burn-based deck to play Lava Spike, but decks play this, and there's a deck called Burn that plays 4 copies of Lightning Bolt, which are shoot anything, 4 copies of Lava Spike, 4 copies of a card that is like Lightning Bolt but 1 turn delayed, and they get to play 16 copies of Lightning Bolt essentially that go upstairs. And you just have to deal with that, where like your opponent just goldfishes a burn lethal on turn 4. No units needed, we're just killing you with burn.
That sounds fun. That sounds like really engaging gameplay that people probably really enjoy, huh?
It's not the most enjoyed deck to have around.
That's funny. That's funny. Okay, Burglar Rat. So it's a 2 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Okay. So it's just a 2 mana 1/1 that discards randomly from your opponent's hand?
They pick. They get to pick what they discard.
Oh, okay. They get to pick to discard any card.
Great.
So 2 mana 1/1 with upside. Which is like cool. I like that they get to discard a card. But I worry that like it's probably not doing much. Like I feel like this card's probably bad. Not necessarily because it costs 2 mana, but because it costs a deck slot. Surely there's better things you can have in your deck, right? This card seems like not great. Your opponent gets to choose what they discard. Like, it's not that strong, right?
This card is just truly bad. Nobody plays it. There's really good hand disruption in Magic, and just making them discard 1 card just isn't good. For 2 mana, like instead of a 1/1, you can definitely get them to just discard 2 cards. Where
yeah, that sounds pretty good.
That's definitely better. Even those cards are only really played when you're playing a deck that is intending to just keep your opponent with no cards in hand for the entire game. We just discard every card you ever draw.
How much does Thoughtseize cost?
1 mana.
1 mana and you get to pick the card, right? So...
Correct. Yeah, I mean it costs 2 life. Like.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, no 1 mana and you get to pick the. Yeah, this card seems not great. Okay, cancel. So it's 3 mana deny.
It can also hit creatures, which is relevant.
Okay, 3 mana deny that can hit a creature. But you also told me that there's a lot of counterspells.
There are a lot of counterspells.
So this isn't like special in that regard. This is probably just like the baseline version. It's probably a solid card, right? Unless this was printed like super. Well, unless this has been like power crept to shit, right? Surely this is like a solid card that has like seen play multiple times, and like it's probably just like not that great anymore. But like once upon a time, it was beautiful.
I think you're kind of correct. So this card has never really seen play, but the reason for that is there's pretty much always been a cancel with slight gravy. So counter target spells, scry 1. This one like has an extra different type of mana. Counter target spell, you gain 3 life. And in any kind of format where these gravies didn't exist, they just get better.
Why is counterspell a card? What the fuck? Okay.
So cancel probably would see play in various formats in the absence of just better versions that happen to exist.
Yeah.
But the better versions aren't like wildly better. It's not like it's been power crept. It's just cancel is the counterspell that they use to like kind of introduce new players to the concept.
It's just like super vanilla.
Yeah, and in formats where like competitive play is occurring, there's usually a slightly better option that they give you that's interesting.
Sure. So this is like the 5-cent version versus the $30 version.
I mean, these ones are still like maybe $1.
Okay.
So it's not like they fleece you, but cancel is definitely like.
That's a missed opportunity then. Come on, Wizards.
Don't give them any ideas. So.
Dark Confidant. So it's a 2 mana 2/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. Okay, so every turn you draw a card.
Yes. But you take damage equal to its mana cost.
However much it costs, you take damage. Greatness at any cost, huh?
One of the best flavor texts in all of Magic. So.
I mean, this card has to be really good, right? It's almost certainly like hitting some sort of a it's just drawing a card. But you get to play this card on like turn 2. And you get to draw a card every single turn. This is probably like a really good card in like some stupid combo deck. that just like wants to see the card. Once it sees its card, it just wins the game, right? Surely this card's good. This card has to be good. It has to be good.
This card is good. You're wrong about where it goes. This
Oh,
card
really?
is just played in mid-range.
Wait, so it's like everyone plays this, or?
No. Control decks don't. Aggro decks would occasionally, historically, aggro decks played it a little bit more.
Okay.
But most decks that played this were just mid-range, where
Okay.
they played this on turn 2, your opponent probably removed it, and if they didn't, it started drawing cards.
Okay.
Something that's worth knowing is, like, lands have a converted mana cost of 0. So if this hits a land, it just doesn't deal you damage.
Oh, that's hot.
Oh.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
really good. Okay.
So it's definitely kind of been power crept a little bit. There's some like specific things floating around that make Dark Confidant worse than it used to be, which would be like Renin 6, which isn't on here and would be way too annoying to explain. So I'm not going to deal with it. But
Mhm.
like Dark Confidant has definitely seen better days, but I think it's hard to argue that the card is anything other than good.
It seems like it's just doing like a solid thing.
Yeah, it's definitely been broken in like lower powered situations, but it's settled into a relatively healthy role that's solid.
And it's in black, and black can like drain and heal, right?
Yep.
And black
can
also
heal.
is it the fucking card that wants you to lose health. I mean,
Yeah. Death Shadow didn't really play Dark Confidant oddly
Mhm.
because Death Shadow wanted to have very fine control of its life total.
okay.
But yeah, that type of deck would be interested in Dark Confidant. Also, if you hit Street Wraith off Dark Confidant, it sucks ass because Street Wraith costs 5. Even though you never cast the card.
Oh, that's the card that you were losing 2 health to a
Cycling,
cycle.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you
Okay.
just like take 7 instantly.
Yeah, that sounds,
Because you're at 7.
that sounds great, right? That sounds fun.
Good times.
Okay. Knight of the Reliquary? Reliquary?
Yep.
Which one is it?
Reliquary.
Reliquary. Okay, so it's a 3-mana 2/2. Gets +1/+1 for each land card in your graveyard. Okay. You could sack a forest or plains, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. I mean, that seems really good. Wait, so okay, you play this on turn 3,
Mhm.
and then you can you tap it on the same turn it comes down?
No.
Okay,
You
so
would
you
need
have to wait
haste to
till
do
it
that.
Okay. So it will buff itself up, but like it thins your deck, and it just like replaces the lands. Well, okay, so wait, you're tapping it, you're sacking a land, you get a land. I assume you get an untapped version of the land?
If the land can come into play untapped, it will come into play untapped.
Okay. So you can spend mana, sack the spent mana to get like better mana, right? Get unused mana.
This can ramp you by like being a what's it called, like sacrificing a tapped land and finding an untapped land. So it can tap for mana in a very weird way.
Oh yeah, and isn't Magic weird where like you can tap for mana and then the mana like floats there, so you don't have to
Yes.
like use it right away?
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, this card seems really good, right? This card seems really good. Like just the fact that like it thins out your deck like seems pretty okay. It gets bigger, but more importantly, if you can like cheat out mana, like that seems really good.
So this card is good, not for those reasons.
Oh, and you
so
also get to pick
this-
the land. You could grab like a fetch land or something, right? You can grab
Yeah.
anything.
This card is good for 2 reasons.
Okay.
One, this card gets fucking enormous. This card is like an 8/8 for 3 mana and
Yeah.
just beats you to death. The other thing is, there are a lot of really powerful land cards. Field of the Dead was never really used with Knight of the Reliquary, but like stuff like Field of the Dead, there's some other really powerful land combos. There's 2 lands that if you have both in play, you can spend 2 mana and sacrifice both of them and get a 20/20 flying, like elusive indestructible.
That sounds
Your
pretty
opponent
okay.
just fucking dies to
So
it.
being able to like search specific lands is like strong.
Yes, specific lands is really powerful, and just being enormous. Like,
Mhm.
both of those things are why this card is good.
Is this card like good, or is it like good?
It's good. It's been seen pretty regularly in pretty high power formats.
So should
Formats
this
with
card
less-
like probably only search like basic lands?
That would have been a much wiser choice with this card. This card would have been reasonable with a restriction of only basic lands, and
Uh-huh.
it doesn't have that restriction. So
Okay. Oh yeah. it seems
Reclaimer is
pretty good.
not necessarily better Dark Ideas, but it is definitely like you definitely
Every
like
one, man.
have competition in that slot.
Monka.
the decks in Legacy are playing both. So
Okay. Peer into the Abyss. This is 7 mana. It's a lot of mana.
it is a lot of mana.
Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their health. Round up each time. So you just get to draw your
draw half your deck.
Okay, you draw your entire deck. Yeah, that seems. Oh, okay, 7 mana. Draw your entire deck.
It's half. Only half.
Okay, yeah, but like, let's be honest with ourselves. Half your deck is your entire deck. You run 4
It's a
copies
lot
of every
cards.
card. It's. Okay.
Yeah, there's a hand limit, but at end of turn, so you can have as
Yeah.
many cards in your hand during the turn as.
Is hand limit 7?
Yeah, 7 cards. At
So,
the
like,
end of
the
the turn, you have to discard it.
The concern is that if you pay 7 mana, then like, you know, how many of those cards are you really going to be able to play? But you get to choose what cards to discard, I assume, at the end of your turn.
You do get to choose, yeah.
7 mana is a lot of mana, but like its effect seems broken as fuck. And like you're never casting this on your opponent, right? You're obviously always casting this on yourself. Obviously.
I mean, you might cast it if they're at 1 and it kills them.
Not surely not. I mean, this card has to be broken, right? It has to hit some stupid combo deck. And it does something really fucking stupid. Surely, this card has to be really good.
Yeah, this card is a combo card through and through. It's pretty good in combo decks, but people don't play this and like try and keep the cards around. They play this card and try and kill you that turn. Like
How many
there's
cards
no
do you
messing
play,
around.
like on that turn?
So you have cards like Lotus Petal that get you like an initial boost of mana,
True,
and then
true.
you start just rolling. So
This is drawing you like 20 plus cards every time you play it, right?
it draws a outrageous number of cards, and generally decks that are casting Peer into the Abyss. It depends on the format. Some of them will need some amount of mana to start with. So if they cast Peer into the Abyss and have like 2 mana floating, you're just dying every time if they draw remotely reasonably.
Really?
As you get into older formats, like Legacy would be the best one. If someone casts a Peer into the Abyss, you die. Like it doesn't matter how bad they draw. Their deck is designed to just kill you.
Yeah.
I mean,
you draw your entire
realistically-
deck. Like it says that you only draw half, but you might as well draw your entire. It's good enough, right? Surely.
Yeah.
That's
So,
funny. No,
It's
that,
very good in combo decks. It's not good anywhere else, but it is very good in combo.
it only needs to hit the one thing, right? It only needs to hit
Yeah.
one combo. That's funny.
Anyways, that is the end of the list. So
Well, dope. Thank you for going through that.
yeah,
How do you think I did?
I think you did very well. There were some specific ones that I was not expecting you to get. So like, some of them I didn't think were going to be hard. Luris, this card is outrageously broken.
Mhm.
I would have been surprised if someone missed Luris. But some of the ones that, like Ornithopter, I did not think you were going to get such a dead-on thing for Ornithopter. So I thought you would get Voice of Resurgence. I feel like this card just reads broken to anybody who's playing like a value-based game.
Yeah.
So I see some chat stuff. I don't want to show like these really complicated, very wordy cards, and I don't really think they're worthwhile. So like Oko is not very interesting and is super hard to explain. Ragavan is not very interesting and super hard to explain. And Questing Beast is really complicated and not worth it to explain.
Yeah.
So like these cards aren't there for a reason. I was really surprised that Field of the Dead read so bad to you. But
It just seems so fucking slow, dude. It seemed so slow. Like 7? 7 is so many, right? Oh my god. Well, apparently not. Apparently the answer is no.
yeah.
It's funny that card is just like ridiculously broken.
Yeah. I do find it interesting when you like go down rabbit holes and like get the sort of correct answer for the wrong reason. Where you were like,
I read
looking at
Thassa's,
10
I'm like-
cards sounds good.
Well, I was like, okay, this does a good thing on its own, and then sometimes wins you the game. But apparently the answer is it never does a good thing. It just wins you the game.
Yes.
That's my bad. I was
Yeah,
just like, its floor seems good, so it has to be good, right? But
Nobody is playing this card to look at like 7 cards and hope for the best.
that's funny. I mean, yeah, I just I was just trying to establish its floor, but apparently the ceiling is so fucking high it doesn't matter. That's funny.
Yeah. What were were some other ones? Sheldrid was like misrated by a lot of people to start off with because like this card, I feel like this card would be outrageously broken in LoR, and it's pretty good in MTG, but this doesn't like look like a great MTG card.
It doesn't
draw
like
cards.
look like a MTG card, right? Like it doesn't like do like, if I think about MTG cards, it's not, you know, put like this big guy down there and then like he does a thing per turn and it's just like a 4/5 that with Death Touch, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know, these are fucking big. It's big.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, it's good for the same reason it would be good in LoR, where it's just like a big ass body that like has to get dealt with. And it's kind of hard because it's a 4/5.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and like in MTG, like this card reads worse than it is, but like for an LoR person, I feel like you get the you
What it was
realize how
doing, like,
annoying
seems
this card
pretty
is.
solid. But yeah, in MTG, like it would probably be less valuable than in LoR. In LoR, like this card would be fucking insane. This card would cost 6 mana.
I also find it interesting how like unassuming Underground Sea works, but you did actually identify that this card is just like horrendously broken.
Yeah, it's just better than everything else, right? Like there's no it's similar to like how Yu-Gi-Oh, like the simplest text sometimes is the most broken shit on the planet. It's just like there's just no point in running other cards over this card, right?
Yeah, it's the best one. They ended up like, so they used to keep dual lands like this thing around because they thought like it made the game better, which I would argue it did because it like fixes some of the problems the mana system has.
Yeah.
But eventually they realized that like you can't do anything interesting with Underground Sea. You can't have cards like Watery Grave because Underground Sea is just better. So they ended up being like, I guess we'll like rotate out Underground Sea and like try and make interesting different dual lands.
Yeah. Which I think that it's cool that lands do things, right? Like that's cool that they decided that was like a design space that they wanted to get into, especially since the land system in MTG just like feels so archaic. It feels terrible.
They're definitely doing their best to fix it, and I definitely think the people in charge like understand how fundamentally problematic the land system is.
Yeah.
I just don't really know if they'll solve it. So
yeah, but I appreciate you hopping on, Drisoth. If people wanted to see more from you, where could they find more from you? Just your Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter mostly, which is Twitter/Drisoth, or however that link is formatted. I also stream also at Twitch/Drisoth. So
yeah,
you can find me there.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much for hopping on. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Maybe we'll do this another time, but yeah, I appreciate it.
I had a good time.
All right. I'll catch you later, folks.